The MILF upstairs called me at midnight and said, "Can you come help me right now?" The knock of destiny doesn't always come in daylight. Sometimes it arrives as a trembling phone call in the middle of the night, one that shakes you awake, not with noise, but with the weight of someone's fear. I still remember the moment my phone buzzed at exactly 12:03 a.m., the screen glowing with a name I'd never expected to see that late. Mara Henley, the single mother who lived upstairs, the woman the neighborhood jokingly and somewhat unfairly labeled the MILF upstairs because of her beauty, strength, and the mystery she carried around like a second shadow. Her voice wasn't flirty. It wasn't playful. It was cracked, urgent. "Can you come help me? Right now?" Before we begin, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet ways people save each other, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kind Heart Satires. It helps more people find stories that heal. The moment I heard her whisper those 5 trembling words, sleep vanished from my body, replaced with a pulse of adrenaline that pushed me straight out of bed. I had known Mara in passing, the polite neighbor who always kept her hair tied back as she juggled grocery bags, a restless 10-year-old son named Jaro, and the kind of exhaustion that can only come from trying to rebuild a life while pretending everything is fine. I'd moved into the building just 2 months earlier, still adjusting after losing my own job and navigating the blurry edges of loneliness. I wasn't expecting anyone to need me, much less someone like her. The hallway light flickered as I climbed the stairs. The building was old, the kind where the walls creaked as though mourning stories they'd absorbed over decades. When I reached her door, I found it already cracked open, swaying lightly with every draft. Inside, the apartment was dim except for a single lamp illuminating a small living room filled with children's drawings and the warm scent of chamomile tea. And there she stood, Mara, eyes red, hair messy, her hands shaking as she clutched an inhaler. "It's Jaro," she whispered, her voice breaking like thin ice. "His asthma. It's bad. I can't get the car to start, and the ambulance said they're delayed. Please, please help." In that moment, the title people jokingly whispered behind her back, "The MILF Upstairs," felt like a painful simplification of a woman who was clearly breaking, terrified for the only person she loved more than her own breath. She wasn't glamorous or confident right then. She was human, vulnerable, a mother, fighting a silent war with the night. Without thinking, I scooped Jaro into my arms. He was light, limp, wheezing painfully against my chest. His small hands clutched my shirt as though holding on for safety. Mara followed close behind as I rushed him down the stairs and across the empty parking lot. Dawn was still hours away, but the horizon had a faint, cold glow that made everything feel surreal, like we were running through a dream we desperately wanted to wake from. My car started immediately a Mercy, and within seconds we were speeding toward the nearest urgent care clinic. Mara kept whispering to her son in the back seat, brushing the curls from his forehead, promising him that everything would be okay, even though I could hear the tremor in her words. Every red light felt like a lifetime. Every exhale he struggled through felt like a countdown. When we finally burst through the clinic doors, nurses rushed forward, taking Jaro from my arms and disappearing behind swinging doors that thudded shut behind them. The silence that followed was crushing. Mara collapsed into the nearest chair, burying her face in her hands. I sat beside her, unsure if I should touch her shoulder, unsure of anything except the overwhelming urge to help. Minutes stretched into hours. The waiting room clock ticked loudly, marking time like a heartbeat. Outside, dawn finally broke daylight, spilling across the floor, washing the room in soft gold. And in that fragile moment of stillness, Mara spoke. "I thought I could do this alone," she murmured, eyes swollen but steady. "Everyone thinks I'm strong. Even the nickname they give me, it's as if being attractive is some kind of shield, but I'm just tired and scared and trying." Her voice cracked again, and I found myself swallowing a lump I didn't expect. "You don't have to do it all alone," I said quietly. "Nobody should." She looked at me, then really looked, and something inside her expression shifted. It wasn't romantic. It wasn't dramatic. It was something gentler. Gratitude mixed with the relief of finally not carrying everything on her own. The doctor came out shortly after, explaining that Jero had suffered an acute asthma attack brought on by stress and poor air quality in the building. He was stable now, sleeping peacefully. Mara let out a sob of relief, so pure and raw that it made my throat ache. We went home after sunrise. The world was waking up, oblivious to how ours had nearly shattered overnight. I walked her and Jaro upstairs, carrying his small backpack filled with inhalers, instructions, and a list of recommended home improvements. As she tucked him into bed, I quietly began fixing the broken window latch that had been letting dust blow into his room. That moment was the spark that began everything. Over the days that followed, we slowly became constants in each other's lives, not out of romance, but out of the quiet recognition that we were two people trying to rebuild ourselves piece by piece. I helped her replace the old air filters in the apartment. She helped me edit my resume and rehearse for job interviews. On sunny afternoons, when Jero had enough energy to run around outside, she'd sit on the apartment steps with a cup of coffee and tell me stories of the life she'd left behind and the future she was still scared to envision. And as days passed, I learned that the strongest people are often the ones who silently endure the most. Yet things didn't magically get easier. There were days when the weight of her worries pressed hard, when bills piled up, when Jero's breathing grew tense again, when my own job search felt hopeless. But struggle has a way of binding people, of weaving unexpected threads between lives that would have otherwise crossed like strangers on a sidewalk. One afternoon, while I was repairing the bathroom sink in her apartment, Mara sat on the edge of the counter, swinging her feet, a thoughtful expression on her face. "Do you ever wonder," she said softly, "why certain people show up exactly when we need them, even when we don't realize how much we do?" I glanced up at her. Maybe that's how life works. Maybe we're all just walking miracles for each other. Her smile that day was one of the rare full ones, the kind that lifts a person's whole face, revealing the hope they'd been protecting behind tired eyes. But life has a way of testing people, even after giving them glimpses of hope. A month later, a letter arrived from Mara, an eviction notice. The building management planned renovations and wanted tenants out before raising rent. She sat on her couch holding the letter like it was a verdict. "I can't move again," she whispered. "I can't make Jaro go through another change. I'm barely holding on." The helplessness in her voice pierced me. I'd finally landed a part-time job and wasn't yet steady myself, but I couldn't bear the thought of her losing everything she'd fought so hard to keep. So for the next week, I helped her make calls, fill out forms, apply for rental assistance, and search for new places. Every day, between shifts at my job and her long hours at the grocery store, we worked side by side, fighting the storm together. But it all seemed impossible until something unexpected happened. One afternoon, the building's elderly landlord, Mr. Garwin, came by to inspect pipes. He found me fixing a cabinet in Mara's kitchen. When he learned what was happening, he let out a long sigh. "You know," he said, "I bought this building 40 years ago. I've seen generations pass through, and I've seen people leave because they didn't have the right kind of help." He paused, leaning on his cane. "This kid and his mother, good people. I don't want them out. I'll delay the renovations. Rent stays the same for them. Just promise you'll both keep this place in good shape." When he left, Mara sank onto a chair, covering her mouth as tears streamed down her face. Tears of relief this time, tears that tasted like survival. She looked at me with a softness I'll never forget. "You saved us," she whispered, "in more ways than you know." But I hadn't saved them. We had saved each other. As the days turned into weeks, and weeks into months, the three of us built something that felt like family, even if none of us dared call it that out loud. We cooked meals together. We helped Jaro with school projects. We laughed more, worried less, and slowly, quietly stitched our lives back together. And now, as I write this on a bright afternoon sunlight spilling through the window that no longer leaks dust, I think about how one midnight phone call changed everything. How a moment of fear became the beginning of healing. How two broken adults found strength in each other without ever needing to name what bound them. Sometimes, the greatest acts of kindness are the ones we don't plan, the ones that arrive in the dark, trembling, asking only, "Can you come help me right now?" If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kind Heart Satires. Your support helps these real, human stories reach more souls who need them. And before I end, please leave a comment telling which part of this story made you feel something. Your words matter more than you know.